what I'll do is I'll quickly introduce each of the panelists. And what I'll do is I'll start with George, sir. But quickly, before all of you guys get on into the conversation, see if you can. Today's session is going to be interactive. We want questions from you. We want to understand what are some of the things that you want to hear from us. So this is going to be a very interactive session. Hopefully, we will make it interactive because George, myself, Satya, and Pradeep can't. We have to get you guys all interactive and working with us. So please put in the questions. We will take the questions that come up. But before we start off with the session, I want to quickly introduce George, sir. George is a very, very, what you call inspiring and inspirational professional. And I have had the privilege of having gone through his many different aspects of his life, including his band, music, all his many hobbies. But today he's here. He's the director of learning and development for CIFI Technologies. And he's had over about 2.5 decades of experience as a learning specialist in domain ranging from manufacturing, assessment centers, consulting, information technology. And he's worked through some of the largest of organizations like MRF, Marfoid, Infosys, Hyundai, and currently he is with CIFI Technologies. His core expertise lies in obviously leadership and development that I spoke about, coaching and learning practices. We'll get to hear him a little bit more as he talks about and gives us a keynote. But George, thank you so much for being here this morning and taking the time out. Yeah.
Thanks for that introduction, Amir. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Next, I'll call upon Satya. Satya, if you can just quickly give a wave of your hand so people can see you and know who you are. Lovely. Thank you so much. Satya has about two decades of professional experience, primarily in the area of data science. So definitely each of you guys would want to listen to what he has to say. He's done a lot of work on the data engineering space for some of the largest of organizations, Fortune 500 companies. His extensive background in architecting and developing complex data stacks for data-driven analytics, applications for network workloads, is something that you would want to definitely get something more out of him. He's had the opportunity and the privilege of working with organizations like Latent View Analytics, Samsung, and currently Sundaram Finance. So he's got a background of both technology, finance, and today he is working with Disruptive AI, which is the current organization that he's working with. And I'm sure Satya is going to give us a little more when we start the session. Thank you so much, Satya, again for being here. Thank you. And not the last, but most important, Pradeep Narayanamurthy has been a friend of mine for quite a while, and we worked together in previous organizations in Barclays. He's got about 2 decades of experience, and he delivers a lot of innovative fintech solutions. He leads the business strategies and leads large-scale data and process and technology transformation programs. He's worked with me in Barclays. He's had the experience of working with Cognizant, Temenos, and Microsoft. Currently, he actually works as the head of in IDP as the head of data engineering and governance. He's also part of the NASSCOM Analytics Core Committee and Tamil Nadu SME Council delegate. He also does a lot of speaking assignments, and most of it is about data transformation, data analytics, data governance, and artificial intelligence. So he's got a quote which we both share: "Try to leave this world a little better than you found it." In an ardent football fan, and he absolutely is someone who actually does a lot of work for diversity and inclusion programs across India and Europe. Definitely, Pradeep, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Background. Thanks for the invite. Thank you all.
And background with education. So I think a lot of the students will be very interested in hearing what's happening in the EdTech space, right? So with that, I will, a little bit of introduction. You must be all wondering, who is this guy? He's speaking about everyone. Who is this guy? First of all, how many of you are actually wondering? Give me a question mark on the chat box if you're wondering who is this guy. Yes, let me see how many of you are still with me. Give me a question mark on the chat box. Question mark, question mark. If no one wants to know, that is fine. I will just move on to the next step. If there are no question marks, let me move on. I want to see some question marks. All right. Listen, probably all right. Some of you guys are really want to be interested. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think it's taking some time, Amir, like, for the chat to actually kind of show here. So
sizzle.
Yeah,
Yes.
looks like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I'll do a quick introduction about myself. And because you're asking, so many people are asking me, it's a privilege. My name is Amir Nair. I have about 2.5 decades of experience working in large financial organizations. But my journey has been through hospitality, where I started, worked with supply chain, a little bit of IT, and then majorly financial institutions. Over the last 3 years, I run a consulting firm helping large organizations, like large hospitals, especially in the healthcare space, and IT companies to disrupt and use technology and transformation, especially things like machine learning and AI. And so I hope to bring some value to add to all of you guys, right? With that, I will hand it over to George for the keynote address. My personal request is, as you see, all of the people today on the call are extensively experienced. My request would be, please take a notepad and pen and make some notes in this session, right? It may not be value to you now, but sometime during an engagement, an interview, and a conversation with someone in the senior leadership, some of these small things that you picked up today might start becoming important, and those conversations will start adding value to you. With that, let me hand it over to George, sir. George, over to you for the keynote address.
Hey, thank you so much, Amir, and it's quite exciting to be here. And thank you, Francis Xavier, the management of Francis Xavier College, and SICKI, all the office bearers of SICKI. In fact, we come from the employability committee, employability and skilling committee. In fact, we act as a think tank for how to improve, probably talking about or discussing about how to improve employability in southern, in South India, in Tamil Nadu specifically. So for all the students out here, it is important to be a part of some of these associations. There are so many associations out here who are quite interested and willing to share their knowledge and possibly share their wisdom. We are a group of expertise is like Amir and a lot of people who have gathered and have various committees on various streams. And probably it must be interesting for you to go into the SICKI's website and possibly the galleries out there are quite filled with knowledge in terms of all these things probably would be recorded and becomes a part of the gallery within SICKI. Okay, so I'm just going to take just 5 to 7 minutes, not more than that. I'm quite excited, absolutely, talking about a technology. I'm not a techie personally. I'm more of a learning specialist. I keep learning, and I kind of coach and teach people as well on various behavioral skills, and that's what I do. You might be wondering, what am I doing about AI ML? But I love technology, though I'm more of an open source buff. I love trying out various distributions of Linux. Now, in fact, I have tried almost all the distributions of Linux at home. And I love doing all those things, trying out various open source applications and things like that. And Amir told that I'm kind of interested in music as well. So I use open source to create music. That's about me. But then I just want to talk a little bit on AI and AI and ML. So, how has it helped me? In two ways. One, for the students as a user, and how AI as a technology as well. Possibly, I'm sure that each one of you, I'm very certain that you would have used ChatGPT and a lot of AI tools as well. Those are generative AI. So if you ask me, there are two aspects of AI. One is traditional AI, and the other one is generative AI. I may be wrong. As I said, I'm not a techie, but then these are my understandings. I'm just kind of trying and sharing with you. So with respect to the traditional AI, I think there's a lot of scope, and possibly whatever you see, like predictive analysis and data mining and a lot of things that happens there that I think if you ask me, if you want to really future-proof your career, I think you have to pick up some of these things, like, some of these technologies, and probably keep learning as quick as possible. Like, in fact, there's been a saying that AI, because of AI, people are losing jobs. I mean, that may be true, and that is true as well. But if you ask me, people with AI skills are replacing jobs of people who do not have AI skills. And that is the truth. It's not that if there are jobs being lost, there are jobs being created as well. I mean, because of AI. I mean, and any such technology. I mean, I still believe that when I was young, people used to actually go to to learn typing. That's the first thing that you learn, which is very closer to something like a computer or a laptop. So I mean, those days when I was young, there were no laptops. There were not much of computers had not been there, and the kind of transition that has given, possibly because of this, because of technology. I mean, can you believe that, if GPS navigation was not there and those maps was not there, I don't think so such large organizations like your whatever that you use right now, like Swiggy's and many organizations that depend on these navigation systems will not exist now. I think every technology becomes a starting point for very, very large organizations as well. So I strongly believe that as a student, rather than, I mean, you should be the users of these technologies as well. More than being users of technology, I think you should become a part of the developing community of these technologies. And that's when you become more powerful. Like, in the gaming industry, do you want to play the game, become a user, or do you want to create a game and become a developer is the question. In fact, I once went to a seminar, and one blogger started, with one slide which says that stop being a consumer, start being a producer. And I strongly believe in that statement. Stop being a consumer, start being a producer. Think about it. Like, if you're going to use these technologies, you're only a consumer. But then if you are a producer, that means you got to actually start a process or create a process, create a technology. The thinking element is much higher there. And as students, I strongly believe that if you kind of transition from being a consumer to a producer, I think the kind of career that you would have in any of these technologies would be much, much higher, right? I mean, if you look at it, I mean, today we're going to talk about AI and ML. ML is basically machine language. I think it's coming under the umbrella of AI. But then if machines can learn, that's what machine learning is. Like, just like how we learn things, I think machine can, without any programming, the machines can learn by itself. And so it's very, I mean, for me, it's terrifying as well when you can hear some of these things that are happening because of AI, ML as well. The kind of scams and the AI, ML getting into crime also is pretty high. So as students, I think it is important to kind of integrate values, your set of personal values in whatever that you are doing as well, whatever technology that you're working with as well. I'm not going to take much of the time. I think I should give more time for the panelists and so that they can discuss. I would be happy to kind of get any questions from any one of you, and probably being a part of this panel is quite exciting as well. Thank you so much, Amir. Thanks for putting this together. And over to Amir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, George. Some really interesting comments and thoughts. What I would like each and every one of you guys is to start forming questions that you want to ask George, Pradeep, and Satya, and myself also, right? So think about questions. I do want to see some questions coming up. Just put it in and I'll pick them up as we go along, But before that, let me quickly start the panel discussions for which you have all joined. So my first question that is going to come up is that, and this is a question for all, but Satya, I'm going to direct this first to you and then go to Pradeep. Given that the rapid advancement in machine learning and AI, what do you believe are the most transformative applications or innovations currently shaping the industry? And how do you see them evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? And I think George had touched on this a little bit, but I want to hear from you first. What are the things that you think about? Satya, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Samir. So let me, before addressing a question, right? So let me briefly open up what AI and ML is at a very high level, right? So in terms of
and Satya, as you do that also, sorry, Satya, as you do that also, just give a little bit of the background of where, since you're working and you're in a very, very innovative place, so people can understand that background also.
Yeah. My background in terms of the field of machine learning AI started like way back in 2011 when the field itself was pretty nascent at that point in time. Actually, if you look at it in the last 10 to 12 years, we've come a long way in terms of data, infrastructure, algorithms, all of those spaces, right? I have personally worked, and I was literally fortunate to work across different domains, Fortune 500 companies, and I've been involved a lot of machine learning projects, which involved a lot of data, right? So, and I'll touch upon the data complexities maybe in later part of the session, but I'll open up more on the AI and the ML definitions to begin with, right? So when you say AI over the last century, there have been multiple attempts to build up AI, right? So there have been multiple waves of ups and downs where people started with different things, move up and down, and today we are actually in a better space than ever. All right, so the definition is basically AI is a part of computer science, and we are aiming to build machines that are capable of performing tasks that need human intelligence, right? So something like a vision, right? So humans naturally can see, machines can't. You have a language that we converse, machines don't. We instruct or give machine language. You want a higher order problem to be solved, machines can't. We have to give instructions, right? From the traditional sense, I write a piece of code that the machine follows. That goes under the realm of IT. But I write a piece of code and the machine understands the data that happened in the past, derives patterns. Based on the patterns, the machine is able to give me a decision that is learning, right? The code here is not changing. Based on the data patterns, the machine is able to learn. So that is where machine learning is a subset of AI that's very specific to specific tasks, right? So when it comes to industries, right? So I've been heavily involved in financial services in the recent past, so I'll go back to the financial services side of things, right? So in terms of credit decisioning, right? So anytime I go approach a bank for a loan, today banks they look at your credit profile, right? So your credit history gives the bank the ability to understand your risk instantly because they have looked at people who are very similar in nature or higher risk than yourself or lower risk than yourself, and is able to come up with an offering customized to you, right? That was not possible a decade ago. When you look at insurance premiums for your car, health insurance, everything is now based on what you do as an individual, right? So all of that is coming through data, right? So AI systems analyze these transaction patterns, gives you an ability to identify what you are as an individual and able to customize your products. When you look at the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to become more and more personal, more and more customized, right? So you will have all of the products and services customized, personalized to the pattern that you actually follow, and not like a Doordarshan broadcasting to everybody. Now, if I actually go to that sense, you have your OTT programs that you can tune into based on your choice. That is machine learning for you. Can't hear you, Amir.
Sorry, I'm still on mute. So that was a good ending to that question, because now we can very clearly relate, right? We are all watching programs and not watching Doordarshan anymore. So thank you so much, Satya, for that. Yeah. So Pradeep, over to you for the same question. What and how do you see the things evolving over the next 5 to 10 years, especially in the EdTech industry, if that's where you can touch? You're on mute, Pradeep.
Thanks, Amir, for that. And also, I would like to thank everyone at the SICKI College. So this college is almost near to my native. So first of all, hi to all the students here. And, Amir, just to give a background, so I work for an edutech company called IDP. So it helps students to get placed in international universities, and also we run a testing platform called IELTS, IELTS.co. So we are the owner of it, and every year that hits close to 5 million students, which is comprised of trying to get immigrated and also trying to get into studies in abroad. So we closely touch with a lot of millions of students, and I feel really proud to address this. So let me quickly get on to it. I think Satya has given what is all about an ML part. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about the transition. As we recently concluded with the Olympics, I'm just going to touch with that. So the recent Olympics that happened in Paris, and if you compare to the Olympics almost a century ago that happened in 1924, there are two contrasting things. In 1924, the person who got the gold medal took close to 10 seconds and more than that. And eventually, if you see now the age of Usain Bolt and Post, the recent guy, it is less than 10 seconds. But if you see, the technology has improved amazingly from there, right from the turf that you ran, the gizmos that you used. So that's a classic way, but the difference is, right, whatever you saw is completely a linear one. It took 100 years for a man to complete the 100 meters from 10.6 seconds and then less than 10 seconds. Now. So reason I called it out is the transformation that you're going to see is going to be an exponential. It's no more, it's going to be this fashion. Next 5 years, it's going to be crucial. Few things I observed, two things I will touch base, right? One is, it is going to be a democratized one. Now, if you see, right, not everyone get access to your GPUs, right? Very few like NVIDIA, so they have their own sophisticated chips. Not everyone is getting close to that. But I personally see that, like what happened in 1997, the Intel's then CEO, Andrew Grove, he made a mission critical switch. So those days, Intel only used Pentium processors. So he had a design thinking session with Professor Clayton, which made him to think about having a Celeron processor, then completely change the game. So I personally see that the next 5 years, your GPUs will be all over. Your phones will have very cost-effective one. Every individual can run their own foundation models in their phones. What does it mean, right? It means very simple. In edutech space, your tutors would be your phone with a GPU. With the generative AI, you can get any content, any model, you can run it. And then personally, it could be your fitness coaches, right? It can give you everything. Now you still have the smartwatches, but this change is going to be a big one. And then, as Satya mentioned, all your financial inputs could go left and right, and then you can get your own ratings. Nowadays, you need to bank on a agency to get it. You're going to get everything. And lastly, you're going to have a friend or a tutor or a coach who's going to completely guide you. So this is what I see, and you could already witness in Tamil Nadu, a lot of these chip manufacturing companies are in. If you go to the SIPCOTs, you see, I personally see that in next 5 years, this is going to be a breathtaking change, and everyone would be powered with AI. And I see that there is a huge industry coming up called the ESG, because you one side you build a lot of chip and other thing, next side is a neutrality you need to play, and the Forbes says that it's a close to 400 billion market space in next 5 years. So interesting things come in. So I called it out in my yesterday's discussion in one of the college called RMK. So I was a speaker there. I called it out. It's pride that I'm back to back. I was able to call it out. So this is where it's going to go, and a lot of proliferation is going to happen. Proliferation is nothing but I'm not sure how many of you heard about Ernest Hemingway. He says that gradually and eventually it is going to happen. And it's just wanted to quote a famous saying in Tirukural, like Kattanai Thoru Manar Keni Mandirukku Kattanai Thoru, which means you start to use more and more and more. It's going to proliferate, and gradually it is going to happen next 5 years. I stop it here. Amish.
Can't hear you, Amir.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I just go off on mute and say sorry for that. All right, so thank you, Pradeep, for that. So I'll kind of go back to Satya, right? So Satya, I think you talked about this, about the transformation change that's happening. I want to get a feel of what is, so we all keep talking about the concept of survival of the fittest, right? So how does this entire innovation and ML and AI, I think it's a combination, actually important for organizations, institutions, and how do you see that actually playing out? Because I do believe that there is a big, element of that, and I think Pradeep touched upon a few things. I just want to hear your thoughts on that, Satya.
Sure, Amir. There is no denying the fact that AI will get proliferated across the spectrum of our lifestyle itself, right? Let alone the industries, right? So all of that hitting us. But for industries or companies to survive on AI as an innovation strategy, right? So there are 4 key components, right? One is the data itself. The second aspect is the algorithms. Third is the infrastructure hardware, and fourth is the human resources. So I'll go into individual things, right? So data, there are many dimensions to data, right? When we say data, people loosely associate data and whatever, right? So for us to have data that's usable, there are multiple dimensions to data, right? So when you say getting the data right, I'm looking at completeness. How complete is the data set that I'm using? How accurate is my data representation? Whether my data is actually consistent with the use cases that I'm looking at? Is the data actually valid for today? Right. So this data you would have accumulated some time ago. Is it valid today? How unique is the data for you to be actually putting it to your use? And what is the integrity of the data, right? So where is it actually coming from, right? All of this defines the quality of the data. And if, as you all probably know, that garbage in, garbage out, right? So the models itself become effective only if data is actually satisfying all of these things. People till maybe like 4-5 years ago were collecting data, but they were not concentrating on all of these aspects of data, right? So that is one dimension. The second is algorithms. Maybe even a decade back, we were still sitting on logistic regression. But fast forward 10 years, today you have a plethora of options. You have multiple algorithms that I can now run in one iteration to understand which algorithm actually suits for the class of problem that I'm solving. There are like supervised learning algorithms, unsupervised, there are recommendation systems, clustering, there's like, and you have Python packages, like everything is now commoditized, so to say, right? I have like 100 options to run or build models on, right? Let alone LLMs and neural networks, right? I'm not even going there. The basic fundamental things are all now easily accessible and available, right? On top of it, the third dimension is the infrastructure. Like from, if you remember when you started your career, you would have been sitting on Excel to handle data. Excel is no more the choice to handle data. Excel will give you high level, you can just sum up, aggregate. But today, the uh, cloud gives you scalability to an extent where I can run petabytes of data out to scale, right? So that's the third dimension. And to round it off all, you need the human resources, the talent to tie up all of these, right? All of these coming together in right proportion and mix, that will actually shoot your innovation forward.
Fantastic, fantastic, Satya. Thank you so much for that. Because I was thinking about when you were saying this. So one of the projects that I'm running right now is with a large hospital chain, right? And so they run, thousands of SKUs of medicines that are used, both billed, unbilled, and these medicines are changing really fast, right? So the new medicines are coming out every day. And so when I went back and we were doing the analysis of it, we realized that the entire hospital is running with a 6-month average for every SKU as inventory, right? And when I was, and you talked about, regressions, etc., that we would manually run on either Excel sheets or maybe use something even fancy, Minitab and JMP or one of those tools, right? About 10, 15 years back. Today, we could run one model, two models. You can't run 5,000 SKUs with, different models and things like that. But today, with simple Python codes, we are able to generate what are the forecasted numbers by SKUs, what is the kind of patterns that we are seeing with the patient, days in the hospital, which medicines are reflecting. To the extent, we are now able to predict what are the diseases that are coming up based on the medicines that the doctors are prescribing. So it's not the other way around, doctors saying, you know what, more cases are coming in. It's what medicines are being prescribed is giving us patterns of the diseases that are actually coming in. So absolutely what you talked about, massive, but I think there's a lot for some of the institutions to really scale and focus on all the 4 dimensions that you talked about. I noticed that it is just either 1 or 2 dimensions people are focusing on, and I think that could be one of the challenges where the organizations don't really succeed. Yeah, but that would be my quick take on your thoughts, Satya. Slightly adding on. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Folks, I just want to make sure that you are putting in some questions. Otherwise, I can see some people, but everyone's kind of relaxing and listening to it. But I do want all of you to engage. So just give me a question mark on it. So let me know if you're all there with me. How many of you are actually there with me? Put in a question mark. Question mark. Are you there with me? Okay, Pratibha is with me. Fantastic. Thank you, Surya. All right, Kriti, Felix. Great. I want to see how many of you are actually there in this session participating, making notes. Moses, thank you. Thank you. All right. So I want each of you guys to start thinking about questions that you might be really having because you're studying this. You might be having some doubts. And this is the great place for us to ask these questions to the likes of Satya, Pradeep, George, anyone, right? Just put in the question out there. All right, so let me kind of switch over to Pradeep. Pradeep, can you identify a disruptive innovation that has significantly transformed the educational sector? And I keep going back because I think there is there's a lot of college students in this session today. I want to really understand what are some of those adoption of those innovations, which is, what are the lessons that we can learn from leveraging AI and ML for competitive edge in the educational sector? So would you be able to expand on that?
Excellent. I think I just wanted to touch what Satya said. Having data is the first and foremost thing. It should be complete. And if you see, this is nothing new. The history says that since Mesopotamian era, we tend to collect data. So they used to do it in the clay tablets. I'm not sure how many of you know what was the first recording they did was they used to store barrels of alcohol. So that was the first time they started to record dimensions of the data of their story. So this way back. Since then, it transformed into a different way of writing as a manuscript. A lot of manuscripts has a lot of information, and it could be it's a textual data as Satya mentioned. It could be any format. Now it is a multi-modal one. So quickly, I just going to touch base on two things which it has transformed millions of students' life, particularly the company that I work for, and I'm proud that part of that building that AI solution. So just before COVID, we understood that. So I come from a company, as I said, IDP. We predominantly handle international students. Every country, students aspire to get in. It's a diversified world. So we decided to put in a product called FastLane. It's publicly available. You can go and search idp.com, then you can put FastLane. So a lot of students might be already envisaging for you to get admitted into an international. Normally, the average, how long it takes is that historically. And if you even today, right, if you go to a counseling office, bare minimum for you to get admitted into colleges, international colleges, it takes close to 2 to 3 months. And it's a lengthy process. And you have to submit a lot of paperwork that has to be done. You have to take up examinations like either a TOEFL, IELTS, PSN. There's a multiple thing, and it involves a humongous time. So before COVID, our company envisaged that we need to build a recommendation engine, right, which could give offer in principles pretty fast. It's called as OIP. And it's built on completely an out-and-out recommendation engine plus few of those whatever Satya mentioned, right? We had a classification algorithm within to it, and then you'll ask few questions to the students, and it will give. Now the turnaround ratio is substantially it has increased. Within, you can still try it as we speak. So go into idp.com, find your courses, and then you can fill in. Within 3 to 15 minutes, the system is tuned in such a way that the call center will directly get in touch with you. So they will do some sense check. And then within 4 hours, you will start to receive your offer in principles for your desired universities. 4 hours. And then if you have an eligible IELTS score or any of those GRE scores, then you have that proof, right? You will get your offers validated within 48 hours through the corresponding universities, and you would get a confirmation letter for that. So it has drastically brought down the time and all as to go. That's a power of putting a recommendation engine and machine learning. This is one. Second is, a lot of students had a problem to get this examinations cleared because every organization, they had a different band. So we brought in a concept called entry criteria or a country qualification. So you can pick up your local destination, and then the counselors would guide you to go and appear for the examinations. There is an online prep. Everything is gamified one. You can go take up mock interviews, and then you can go and get the IELTS exams clear. So all these services, IDP does not charge a penny. You see, this is what I talked about democratization. Earlier, think about a student who is in a tier 3 or a tier 4 city. It was always unimaginable for him to get into a metro cities, because if you see, the metro cities has a fantastic connect towards all these services. Now there's no more anywhere. So this one has really helped us to pitch into the African market. A lot of students who have even a basic bandwidth can do that. Recommendation, the app also runs in the 2G or 3G. The minimum network bandwidth you have, you can run it. So it's called as idp.com, idp, IELTS.idp.com. So you can get into that and download your apps and you can try. You can test it within 2 to 3 minutes. You will get your first call. and it will really help you. And then that is the amount of transformation with the machine learning has done it. And then with the AI support, it has much more powered. So I experience and then thanks.
Thank you, Pradeep, for that. So next question, I'll want to get George back into the conversation. George, so we all of this is all great, right? But I always wonder, how does the human AI collaboration really work, George, in the future? Yeah, so what is your take on efficiency on one side and the ability for human AI interventions on the other end? So what are your thoughts on that?
Steve, that's the question is pretty tricky in terms of I collaborating AI with human beings, like the collaboration of human intelligence with AI is I'm sure that in fact that should be the case altogether, because if you let the AI to take over, then it is going to be very difficult, is what my opinion is. I think we should steer and we should be leading in the front, so that AI is just a supporting element for us, is what I always feel. Think about especially with respect to generative AI right now, we have loads and loads of generative AI tools that are available there. I mean, if you ask me, if the teachers ask for an assignment or a homework, nowadays students take the easy way out of just going and typing that in the chat GPT and getting the response. Are they really learning in this process is a question, right? So I think it is the responsibility that we have in terms of that the objective of education is to learn, right? So I think that goal has to be reached, and tools are available for us to help us, is what I see. So the way I look at is that the human intelligence is always much powerful than the AI intelligence. So basically, I would want to kind of give you the difference between intelligence and thinking. It's one of something that, if you ask me, that it has given me an insight in terms of, especially with respect to these two words. I learned it from this book written by Edward de Bono, and in all his books, you'll find this difference. Especially, he's taken time to actually differentiate these two words: intelligence and thinking. Right? Basically, intelligence is what you already know, right? If I ask you a question right now from your 10th standard math, or from something that you've already learned, if you recall that and possibly use that for solving a problem or solving a puzzle, it's basically based on your intelligence. So if I ask you something on trigonometry, you already know the concepts of trigonometry, so you apply that and you will kind of use that, and that's basic intelligence. But who did the thinking and came out with the concept of trigonometry, or possibly like Pythagoras, and the people like that did the thinking. So thinking is much powerful than the term intelligence. So I request each one of you, so if you really want to kind of I wouldn't say beat AI, because AI is still below the human intelligence and human thinking. I still feel that we don't want that to happen, where AI is much more powerful. If you ask me, the memory and things like that has overtaken human intelligence. If you ask me, the in terms of bytes and bits and things like that, I may be wrong, but if the supercomputers and things like that has much intelligence than a human being. But with respect to the ability to think in terms of coming up with a new process, coming up with something nobody has thought about, that part, I don't think so. AI can beat human beings. So that's my take on this, Amit. Hope it was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, because sometimes, George, it makes sense because sometimes, people are so invested in AI, they forget that there are other human aspects to it, right? And you are a very creative person. You write, you blog, and I know a lot of people today just use ChatGPT to produce content that are not their own. And how does that help in their own development, in their own
Absolutely.
learning, right? Which
In
you
fact,
know, so
recently I wrote a blog, Amir, on that. I wrote on AI and what is the difference between if ChatGPT is creating that and I created probably from my own thoughts. So basically that's and
right.
the request to all the students is that. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, and absolutely, Jordan. I think where I was coming from is, 10 years back, if you walk on the street and ask people directions, they would know where to go. Today, right? That there's an intelligence called, spatial intelligence. Basically, we human beings have been walking the earth for, thousands of years, traveling from one place to another. But today on the road, no one knows the direction of anywhere if they don't have GPS, right? So in some ways, we are losing that ability in ourselves as we kind of depend overtly on this. But thank you so much for that note, George. So Pradeep, I want to bring you in slightly on a slightly very on a similar line, but I want to really ask you about this entire concept around this neutrality, right? How can we create, or is there something that is going on in creating a responsible AI framework which ensures neutrality? Because, end of it, whatever we do, one of the things is about the biases can creep in, right? And we can program biases into the systems as well, right? So how do we manage to keep neutrality in space? And specifically, again, I'm going back to the ed tech space, but then you can cover in any other space also. But I want to get your perspective on it.
Thanks, Amir. I think I will touch base what George was saying. I don't know. It could be in sword. It could be a double-edged sword. One place they're able to create content, give anything, democratization. So we can't be like a banana republic always. There is a two components, law and an ethic. Law is mandatory. You need to oblige to it. Most of them would bite to that because there is no way if you go beyond that, then you will be penalized. Ethics is something different. The first point I would say from a creativity perspective, think about a creator like George, who can write hundreds of pages. He can put in. Nowadays, with this, the bigger problem we face is the plagiarism. Anyone can take it and then they can modify it and put it without giving a due credit. The first thing a lot of education industry started to do is this plagiarism check they do. Because I have a weird experience. I did my engineering, then I did an MBA, then I did a law. Now I'm doing an artificial intelligence law and ethics. So I'm doing it in Jinda. The first tool they have put in place is the plagiarism check, so that I don't write something for my thesis or for my dissertation. I don't put something. Easily they find it out. So whatever I take it from Copilot, ChatGPT, I make some changes to it. If I fail to give credits to the person who has done it, right, I stand disqualified. This is coming very, very prevalent in almost all the education sector. And a lot of international students who need to get into the universities, they think that it is easy to write about their letter of intent. The first thing the universities ask them that even though you clear every examination, they ask you to write that letter of intent. That tells about how creative you are, how passionate about to join that course. Nowadays, people and lot of those things get rejected because they're not having ethics. I said again, law is fine, ethics is different. That's the first one I would like to touch base. This is for a student community or it is for anyone. and then always we need to protect the creators. So the second one is about the treatment classes, the fairness that we talk about it. Nowadays, you have a lot of ATS systems. Even the students who get right examinations are based on a lot of calculations that you do. The competitive examinations that you take now is all are AI generated. Think about it. I'm being a pretty biased guy who's setting up that pattern, right? I could do anything. I might say, right, no, this role is I can't take in women. It's complete. So I come from a company where 67% of the workforce is women. All my executive C-suite leaders, 90% are women. My CEO, my CFO, right? I can't be a person who can go on program. So this is the second thing which predominantly all the AI-based systems are testing. So you could go and search called XRA framework, XARA framework, explainability and then responsible AI. So we need to adopt to it. And the last one is a lot of embedding that we do. Again, it goes to the content creation. Now with generative AI, you can get any content. But there is a way this industry is going towards embedding. We call it as an embedded journalism, right? We trying to force our view by putting some content. All these things are being branded as which is not fair, which is not ethical, and then whatever output that the system generates, and the students can build a system here. The output that it generates has to be explainable. It can't throw our bias. It could be even an untoward bias. It can't. So a lot of the industry is moving. And one good thing, so we have planned to do this year is, right, to have something with IIT of Madras to test ours there. So as part of my curriculum, I'm going to test it. Whatever small framework that I have built it, I'm going to test how these models are behaving. And because nowadays you deal with large language models, it has billion of parameters, which we never know what it's going to create it. So we need to focus on that. Students has to start to look into it. The curriculum is available everywhere. So this is what I would like to touch base, Amir.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pradeep. Satya, one question has come up from Ashok Kumar. I think you can see it on the chat, right? Would you want to take that question? I mean, it's an interesting one.
Can you just read it out for me?
Yeah. I created a voice assistant for my personal use and plan to make it part of my product. I need to integrate ML and AI to recognize all voice commands correctly. I looked into it, but couldn't find a clear solution on the internet. Could you suggest the ML model or techniques to improve my voice assistant?
Okay, so yeah, I will not give a solution. Okay, so I'll be very upfront about it. Okay, so the way data sciences work, right? So it is a branch of science for the world of data, right? Which means that any science needs to have a lot of experimentation, right? This is not a technology. We have not defined as data technology, the data science. So the answers could be more from the experiments that you run. Okay, be open to run those experiments and then take a path where the underlying data is taking you. I have absolutely no idea what the data is, the quality of the data. Just solely defining or depending on the algorithm is not going to change anything. Okay, so that's where I go back to my earlier answer in terms of saying you need 4 dimensions, right? So one is data, the second is the algorithm itself, the third is the infrastructure, and fourth is the human intelligence to tie all of that. Right. So I don't know where the problem is unless we enter and see it, right? So when you go with these 4 dimensions, you will be able to understand where the problem is and then correct it.
Absolutely. Ashok, hope that helps to answer your question. Obviously, this is a particular problem in a particular scenario, right? So we need to look at it, understand it. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead,
yeah, you can offline reach out to me, not a problem, right? So that is always welcome.
So Ashok,
here on the on the webinar,
yeah.
could yeah.
Correct. No, Satya, and that's a very valid point, right? So I think Ashok, you need to look at this entire problem in that 4 dimensions, but reach out to Satya offline. Maybe we could work through. I don't know. Even Pradeep also has got a lot of experience, so maybe just reach out, and you could get some advice and suggestions, particularly for how to solve this particular problem. If you've got an answer, just give me a thumbs up on the chat so I know. Thank you so much for that. And we are almost at thank you so much, Ashok. So we are almost at the end. I would like to first thank everyone before I hand it over. 1 second, let me see. Yeah. So, Angel ma'am, do we want to do the closing? And I know Shala ma'am was supposed to do the closing, so I want to check with you if.
Oh, pleasant morning. Sir, am I audible?
Morning, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning, all the panel members. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to propose a vote of thanks. I would like to first place a record of sincere thanks to the Southern Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who have been in connect with us for the past years, and often they are conducting such Tech Connect, wonderful sessions. Actually, it's like an eye-opener for us. And as the students of MCA, Master of Computer Application, these kind of sessions are really, really useful for them to develop themselves, to make themselves an industry-ready professional. So here at the outset, I would like to thank Mr. George Koshi, who has been supporting us for all through the years in conducting such events. And I would like to highlight his, anecdote, which he started with, like stop being a consumer and start being a producer. It was well said, sir. Actually, it is what the need of the hour. And our students are delighted to listen to all professionals, especially this Pradeep sir and Satya sir, who has highlighted on the transformation that is happening in the industry right now, and how our students have to equip themselves to make themselves a potential employer in the industry out there. It was really nice. I thank you all on behalf of Francis Xavier Engineering College. A great thanks to Amir sir for wonderfully coordinating the questionnaire sessions, the answering and everything, sir. Thank you so much. And overall, big thanks to everyone. And we expect your support in the future days to come too. On behalf of the Master of Computer Application Department, HOD and management staff and students, I owe a big thanks to everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Lovely, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I've also put in the quick LinkedIn links for all of our profiles. So just do reach out, connect, right? Have any questions individually to reach out. And thank you so much for being here and participating and spending quite a bit of your time in this morning. Hopefully you've all taken some notes, and I hope that you will use some of this information, because all of this hearing will otherwise make no sense. So please pick something and make some notes and come back if you have questions. So lovely. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.